Chapter 9. The Mental Shadow. Gravek, fed up with the interference, barked a sharp order to his warriors waiting in the rear. "Clean up these pests!" he shouted, pointing at Piccolo and Halira's group. The dark soldiers obeyed instantly, diving down. Goten and Trunks seized the moment and charged at Gravek. The enemy thrust his hand out, snaring Goten in his arcane suppression and choking off his power. Meanwhile, below, the battle intensified. Halira and Milana, who were trying to protect their own, were intercepted by several of the elite warriors. They fought bravely, blocking slashes and returning blows, but the sheer numbers were beginning to overwhelm them. "Split them into pairs! Don't give them space to regroup!" Halira ordered, her voice rising above the din. Milana turned to the Torians, who were starting to get back on their feet. "You! Help us! Hold back the ones who are left!" It was then that Piccolo intervened. The Namekian moved among the soldiers with relentless speed. With precise and lightning-fast strikes, he took them down one by one with hardly any effort. As they fell unconscious, a dark and malevolent energy could be glimpsed leaving their bodies, dissipating into the air. "Just as I thought," Piccolo murmured to himself. They were different. In the air, the Saiyan offensive reached its climax. Trunks, free from the suppression, and with a clear path, charged with all his strength and slammed into Gravek head-on. The impact shook the ground violently, kicking up a cloud of dust and leaving the villain buried in a crater. While Gravek tried to recover, Goten had already regained all his power, and his eyes lit up once more with determination. Trunks positioned himself at his side, a spark of opportunity in his gaze. "Now," he said, turning his gaze toward his friend. "Yeah," Goten nodded, gritting his teeth. Both backed away in the air, seeking space. It was the moment. They knew Gravek wouldn't be long in getting up, and they couldn't risk continuing to fight separately. In unison, they began to perform the fusion dance. Phew! Their movements were fast, almost automatic, but the urgency of the battle caused a slight lack of coordination in their steps. "Sean!" Suddenly, a voice erupted, approaching at great speed. "Stop!" Both froze mid-motion. Piccolo appeared out of nowhere in front of them, his cape fluttering in the wind. "Your timing is off," he shouted, pointing at them sharply. "If you fuse like that, it will be a disaster!" Goten swallowed hard, remembering in a flash the failed attempts of his childhood. Trunks grit his jaw, frustrated. A roar interrupted them. Gravek emerged from the crater, his eyes burning with fury. "Damn it, there's no time," Trunks muttered. "Then hold him off," Piccolo ordered. "You'll have your chance. Go after him together," he bellowed. The Saiyans obeyed. They lunged at the enemy once more. Gravek extended his hand, catching Trunks in the suppression. The boy stopped suddenly, forced to retreat. Goten, free, charged his energy in a hurry. Kamehameha! The attack crossed the distance, illuminating the battlefield. Gravek tensed his muscles and, with a fierce roar, centered his eyes on the Kamehameha. He directed the suppression toward the ki wave, instantly releasing Trunks from its effect. The beam wavered, as if it were being strangled. The energy took on a bluish hue, lost cohesion, and the pressure dropped sharply. Taking advantage of the opening, Gravek launched his own ki attack, which clashed against the weakened wave and shattered it in a blinding explosion that shook the terrain. After this, the villain briefly placed a hand on his side. Each suppression left its mark on him. Goten and Trunks stared in disbelief. What the hell?" Goten spat. "He even used that thing against a ki wave," Trunks added. "Damn it!" Gravek's body trembled from the effort, but he gave no quarter. With a swift flash, he centered the suppression on Trunks again and took him down with a brutal blow that slammed him into a rooftop. "Trunks!" Goten shouted, too far away to reach him. Gravek turned toward Goten without pause and caught him with the suppression. His ki dropped in an instant, leaving him unprotected. Goten struggled to resist, but the villain appeared before him in a blink and buried his fist into his stomach. The air was knocked out of him, leaving him helpless as he doubled over in pain. Piccolo surged into the fray at once. He discarded his cape and turban mid-flight, unleashing his speed as he lunged to his aid. "Get away from him!" The Namekian barely managed to launch his attack before being neutralized. Gravek overpowered him and slammed him into the raging sea. Trunks, staggering, managed to get up and charged at the enemy. But Gravek applied the suppression to him once more, dodged his onslaught, and took him out of the fight with a final blow. Only Goten remained, who with his body still aching, could barely manage to stand. Gravek fixed his gaze on him. The suppression fell upon his body again, oppressive as an unbearable weight. It forced every fiber of his body to wither under the pressure. While Goten's physical energy was being reduced by the suppression, Gravek extended his hand toward the young scion's forehead and activated his other primary technique, mind control. A different pressure, cold and penetrating, closed around Goten's mind. Thus his body was left exhausted and his will under siege. Goten clenched his jaw, resisting the double assault, the sudden decrease of his energy and the invasion of his consciousness. Silence fell over the battlefield, broken only by his ragged breathing. Gravek had him completely trapped, body and spirit, imposing a crushing dominion over him.